Okay, so today we're going to continue painting our gouache watermelon that we started the other day. So this will be lesson 2 for the watermelon painting video. We did the red on the first melon, so we're going to basically continue that same concept onto the second melon. I'm using my crimson red gouache paint. So I'm just going to go ahead and put a little bit of that over here on my palette. It does not take a lot, about the size of a pea or less. Gouache paint goes a long way. So I'm going to start out with my wet on wet technique, and I'm just going to come to that second melon that I drew. I'm going to go around the seed area and just add a little bit of water to the top of that space. So I have water only right now. I'm going to get a little bit of water, mix it into my palette with my red, and then I'm just going to kind of let that color run through over here. I'm going to bring that along the side here where that line is. Like I said, the water is just kind of trickling through where I did that wet on wet area. I'm going to try to make it go around the seed. We'll come back and paint that with some brown later. So just a little bit of water on my brush this time. I'm going to bring that down to cover the remainder of my melon. So once again, this is just water. I do have some red mixed in with it since it already had red on my brush. Let me go around the seeds. And then once I get it covered in water, all I have to do is just get a little bit more paint on my brush and let that color just kind of run through. So it's just a really wet paintbrush at this point. Let me go ahead and bring that line all the way down. I'm going to get just a little bit of water, spreading that water on the melon, and I'm going to take it down and kind of go around the strawberry stem as well so that that does not get painted red. Like I said, just spreading water is all I'm doing at this point. And then I'm going to get some more red paint and just kind of let that red paint spread through there. And that will kind of spread the lights and the darks around into each other. Okay. So my melon actually has the three-dimensional part that comes to the back, so I'm just going to use my brush and go ahead and bring that line on down. I went a little bit far. That one I'll have to try to cover with my green rind here in a little bit. So this time I'm going to go a little bit lighter. I don't want it to be quite as red here in the back area. I'm going to go around that seed. And this is mostly just water on my brush right now. And then I'm going to get a little bit of that red paint again and just kind of mix that in, let it run through into my melon from the back towards the front. Okay. So while that's drying, our next color is going to be green. So I added just a little bit of green gouache on my palette. If you don't have gouache at home, you can use watercolor. This time I'm going to take water. I'm going to put it onto dry paper instead of wet paper. So I'm going to take a little bit of water and mix that in with my green. And I'm going to come down to the bottom part of my watermelon rind. And I'm going to make more of a bold green line that comes across there. Going to go all the way to the back to where the strawberry is. And then this time I'm going to get a little bit of water in my brush, not so much paint. I'm going to do another row that's maybe making that a little bit lighter as I go up each time. So once again, just water this time. Get some of that off of there. So my goal is to try to make that green fade out as it goes towards the red part of the melon. So a darker green towards the bottom, getting to more of a white or a light green as I go up. And I'm just going to come to the edges here, bring some of that color up and let it fade in. And then the same thing's going to happen as it goes back around the strawberry. So I need a little bit of water. Just going to mix those colors in, kind of let it fade as it goes back. And just a little bit of a line here. Okay. So on the back watermelon, the same kind of thing. I'm going to start with some darker green paint for the base. Bring that towards the back. Remember, I made a little bit of a mistake here with my red, so I'm going to try to cover over that. This time I have more water, less paint. I'm just going to kind of work those colors up towards the red part of the melon. And then I'm going to do just a little bit darker, bolder green here where I made my mistake earlier. Okay, so there's the watermelon rind. While I have that green out, I think I'm going to go ahead and do my strawberry stem. And guys in the back, I'll have you watch this part because you haven't done this part yet. On the watermelon rind, I started with a really dark green with very little water, and then I added more water as I went up towards the top of the watermelon. Okay. For the strawberry stem, I'm going to use paint with just a little bit of water, not very much water at all. It's going to be more of a bold color. And I'm just going to go ahead and paint inside the lines of that stem. Like I said, very little water for this part because I don't want it to run as much. Oh, it's starting to run. So it's not a bad idea to let your red dry a little bit before you add that green on there. But for time purposes, I'm going to go ahead and do mine, even though my red part is still a little wet. One of my students is stealing my paint while I'm making this video. Sorry, I was hogging it. All right, so what's going to happen is if your red's not dry, see how my strawberry stem is fading into that just a little bit? When it dries, I'll probably go back in and clean that up just a bit just because I don't like that runniness of it. But I want to go ahead and get this on the video so that you guys can see how that strawberry stem is going to look. Okay, so similar there. And then I'm going to let that green dry before I add the red for the strawberry. Okay. While that's green is drying, I'm going to go ahead and get colors ready for my seeds. I'm going to use black and brown for that. All right, to paint the seeds, you're going to use just a little bit of brown and a little bit of black. You're going to come back in with a fairly dry brush, not a lot of water on it. Add some brown. You can do a little bit of black as well for some shadowing. I'm going to do just a little bit of black over here on this side, mixing that in with my brown. And then you'll just fill in each of the seeds using those colors. So then you're just going to continue to paint those seeds with the browns and the black, very little water when you're painting those. So like I said, a pretty dry brush, and just kind of go through the shape that we left without painting the red part. And then like small amounts of water, using that brown and the black until all of your seeds are colored in. All right, once you have your seeds complete and the top stem of your strawberry complete, you're going to want to let it dry for just a little bit before you go back with the red. But once that's all dry, we're just going to go back with red paint. I'm just putting a little bit of water into my gouache just to thin it down a tad. I'm going to go around the edges of the strawberry first. And then I'm going to work my way towards the center. The center will get a little bit lighter as we go. So like I said, darker paint around the edges with less water. And then what I'm going to do is just kind of get water this time, no paint, and I'm just going to do another layer around. I'm going to dip it in water again, no paint again. Just kind of trying to thin down that paint so that each layer that I put around the strawberry gets a little bit lighter. And just water this time, no additional paint. Okay, then I'm going to let that sit and dry. Once that strawberry is dry, we can come back in with a Sharpie to add the detail on the strawberry. So what I'll do with the Sharpie is just come back in and add a few little seeds that come down along the strawberry. I'll use that same Sharpie and I'll sign my name like an artist in the lower right corner, and then my piece is complete.